Hello, in this video I want to critique Whatifalthist's take on the civil war in America that is, according to him, about to happen, but he's not the only one claiming it. And what's surprising to me about this video is that given the fact that the guy is well read and well educated, he does know a lot about history, it's surprising to me how reductionist his takes are and how wrong they are. Okay, let me start with the video.
North and South, Armagnacs and Burgundians, or Lancasters and Yorkists. In each case, these factions represented sub-demographics of the population trying to take over. In ours, this is the college-educated left versus non-college-educated right. As I explain here in this text wall, every single policy the left pushes benefits the college-educated, giving them jobs and power. Meanwhile, the opposite is true for the right.
Okay, there's one big problem with what he said. It isn't the truth. So why did Joe Biden, as a representative of the left, a moderate left, raise the wages of all federal employees, including construction workers and non-college educated people? Why is it that leftists are in favor of weed legalization? Weed is smoked both by the elites and by the working classes. Then why is it that leftists are pro-gay and pro-trans? According to data I saw, working people, the working class, is just as likely to be gay or trans as the elites. Yeah, so this analysis, upon closer inspection, really makes no sense. And yeah, not to mention that, I mean, people on the right that are against the minimum wage, and many of them are, if they're poor, they're actually arguing against their own class interest. And history, it's not really that simple. Whatifalthist here reminds me of leftists that claimed that Hitler was primarily supported by the middle class and by the upper classes in Germany, because according to leftists, Marxists and communists, he was a representative of the bourgeois interest in Germany. But when you look at what actually happened in the Weimar Republic, millions in the proletariat voted for Hitler, because he was good at manipulating the masses, presenting himself as the savior of Germany, being very charismatic. So you also have to take such things into account and not just pretend that history fits your previously drawn boxes, which is what Marxists often did, and that's exactly what Whatifalthist is doing here. Okay, let us continue.
Which stands for the military, business, and religious interests who don't base their social status off college degrees. I would highly recommend the book Leviathan and Its Enemies by Samuel Francis. It's one of the best political books I've ever read, where Francis was a conservative who, in this book, was doing a Marxist class analysis of modern society. It talks about how the college-educated, or the managerial class as he calls them, dominate society, and thus the left dominates all the institutions. As a general rule, you can predict if someone is right or left-wing based off how much agency they have in their work. Anyone who works in a large bureaucracy will tilt left, and anyone who has agency in their work, even if they're poor like small business owners or farmers, will tilt right.
Again, just not true. He's forgetting that fascist bureaucracies do exist. So what the hell is he talking about, actually? Is he just talking about the United States specifically, and is he just talking about the economy, like the right-wingers want less economic restrictions and leftists want more? Well, even that is not perfectly true, but yeah, fascist bureaucracies exist. Number one, that's problem number one. Problem number two is I have anecdotal evidence that goes directly against this. In my college, even many professors were politically on the right. And yes, the right-wing intellectuals that just live by either being college professors or they write books or they work in museums, yes, they exist. So again, this is just not true. Not to mention that there is entire section of YouTube uh, it's called BreadTube, that is leftist. So YouTubers are by definition not a part of bureaucracy, they are independent businessmen, yet they, for some reason, seem to be doing well on YouTube. So again, just not true. Okay, but let us continue. So finally, we hear Whatifalthist's take on January 6th in the United States. We'll hear his take and then I will respond.
This is why I've told the right repeatedly to not rebel out of the blue. The left's greatest trick is baiting the right into hazard. The left's psychology is female and the right's is male. Women will do low-level aggression much more than men. They lie more, spread more rumors, insult more, and nonviolent action. Men tend to go from 1 to 10, in that guys are either friends or they're beating the crap out of each other. I think the left is trying to agitate the right so much so that the right has to do something crazy so that the left can get a consensus that the right is dangerous. It's effectively a wife begging her husband to beat her again and again so that when he actually does do so, she can take him to court as an abuser. The sad thing is that in our society, she can just say that he beat her without any evidence and the court will believe it. I know a couple of people that happen to. We all need to be very careful over the next year.
Okay. I'm slightly beginning to actually lose respect for Whatifalthist, and not even because he compared leftists to women lying about men beating them. So, okay, here is my concrete problem with what he said. He said that leftists are trying to bait right-wingers into doing something crazy, like January 6th, in order for left to gain even more power. But he never actually mentions an example of leftists, in this case Joe Biden or the Democrats, actually baiting the right-wingers into doing January 6th. And if I had to guess why he doesn't mention any examples, probably because there are none. I mean, what did Biden do to provoke Trump? All that Biden did was to actually win an election. Not to mention that Trump even went on to say, when asked, what do you say to those that yelled, hang Mike Pence? Trump even said, well, maybe he should be hanged. So Trump is even incentivizing violence against his own people, against Republicans that are critical of him. So yeah, it's not that Biden and the Democrats are trying to bait leftists into violence. It's just that Trump has decided not to respect the democratic norms. And by the way, I do have the same standard for leftists violence. For example, what happened after George Floyd was killed? Nobody baited BLM or leftists into destroying cars. The right wingers didn't, like, on purpose not protect their cars, or I don't know. The entire thing was just violence that lost control. So to me it seems he really is starting to Whatifalthist is really starting to see history through the prism of weird conspiracy theories. Okay, let us continue. And now Whatifalthist gives us his opinion about the Biden versus Trump election. Okay, let's hear him out.
Has turned into ideological propaganda. It's hard to find any honest people in our nation today. The problem is the two parties literally cannot survive with the other party winning another term. For the Republicans, the financial policies and immigration drives the Biden administration are doing are rotting the country in real time. If Biden has another term and the policies he's pushing now will continue to destroy the country. For the Democrats, they don't have a response to the Trump threat. Trump leads Biden massively. The left has gone very far left, meaning that they only pander to the managerial industrial class. The Democrats are so desperate to take Trump off the ballot since they can't beat the threat he represents. They are importing millions of illegal immigrants since they want to make a docile, stable voting bloc dependent upon welfare. They're doing all of this out of insecurity. The problem is that the left has been gradually alienating larger and larger percentages of the population in order to keep their core fan base happy with them. The problem here is that the core leftist fan base is completely delusional, and so in order to keep their audience happy, the Democrats have to do things that destroy society, like printing vast amounts of money or taking in millions of immigrants to assuage the anxieties of the insane.
Okay, there are so many things wrong with this. Okay, maybe it was a bad idea to print a lot of money in order to save the US economy, which is what Biden did. Then he proceeds to say the Democrats are desperate and they want to ban Trump from the ballot. Okay, I do agree, Biden is senile, his numbers are looking very bad because some leftists will not vote for him because of the Israel-Palestine war. So yes, I do agree that the Democrats are desperate to kind of get rid of Trump, but what I would like to know is whether Whatifalthist believes that Trump legitimately did break the law in such a way that could be called an insurrection, and then he could legitimately be banned from participating in an election or not. I do actually think that there is a strong case to be made that Trump actually did do an insurrection. So even if the Democrats are doing this purely out of their selfish motives, they still would be justified in it. I mean, imagine a scenario in which a judge sentences let's say, a murderer to jail, but the judge also happens to hate the guy for personal reasons. That's still a situation that from a legal perspective is legitimate. But okay, other than that, well, Biden isn't this far left open border guy, and what he failed to mention is that Democrats actually agreed to some pretty strict border restrictions, but the Republicans are still refusing to take the deal because, well, why are they doing it? There are a couple of options. Either they, for some reason, became so obsessed with not helping Ukraine, probably because Ukraine winning the war will make the Biden administration look good. There are some other more extreme fractions of the right in the United States that actually like Putin and that would like for Putin to win the war, which is even more absurd given that Putin and China are the main enemies of the United States. And I actually do appreciate that Whatifalthist is still pro-Ukraine from what I learned by watching his takes on the Ukraine war. And yeah, finally, I have to address this this idea that Democrats are trying to use illegal immigrants in order to get the votes. Well, there are two problems with this hypothesis. If you are illegal, you can't vote. If you enter the country illegally. Now, okay, some immigrants with time passing by will get the right to vote if they become US citizens. But even that is highly questionable because Trump is actually doing pretty well with Mexicans and black people also. So this idea that Mexicans or immigrants will always vote for the left, yeah, it's just not true. Not to mention that many people are now angry at Biden for helping Israel. So many Muslims who also happen to be immigrants probably won't vote for him. So yeah, this is also, I'm afraid to say, a conspiracy theory that's just not true. I mean, there are too many problems with this conspiracy. First of all, illegals can't vote. Second of all, many immigrants won't be voting for Biden out of a plethora of reasons, such as Israel, their anti-abortion, anti-progressive values. Yeah, and finally, the Republicans, in my humble opinion, are now just blocking this new bill that would have really secured the border simply in order to make Biden look bad. A very pragmatic move that a very calculated pragmatic move that maybe I even have to admit is politically smart, but it goes against the right-wing values, against those that truly do want to protect the border, and I actually agree with the right that border needs to be protected. But again, it's not like only extreme right-wingers want to protect the border. That's just a very, let's say, a basic principle that all countries that have a border should adhere to. Okay, let us continue. And finally, Whatifalthist compares America to ancient Rome. Okay, let's see whether his comparison actually makes any sense.
And if you want to look at the cycle of civilizations, the era which corresponds to us is the fall of the Roman Republic around 100 BC. And what happened then was that the Romans, who had all the same issues as us today, including inequality, political polarization, a large empire that they held reluctantly, and things such as the collapse of a middle class, Rome was divided between two political parties, the populist populares and the deep state elitist optimates. And what happened was that the Gracchi brothers were wealthy tycoons who became very politically popular through trying to revive the old Roman dying middle class, which was losing due to competition with slave labor from outside Italy. And they wanted to basically make Rome great again. Then what happened?
Okay, this segment right here to me is proof that Whatifalthist recently ate the wrong kind of mushroom and he never recovered from it. So he's comparing Trump to the Gracchi brothers. He then goes on to say how the Gracchi brothers were assassinated by the Roman deep state, essentially. Why is this absolutely crazy, beyond reasonable? The Gracchi brothers, like Spartacus, are the leftist icons of class struggle, and he's comparing them to Trump. So one of the main reforms that the Gracchi brothers wanted to do was to restrict the amount of land that the richest people in Rome had, and then to take that land and redistribute that land to the peasants. Does that sound like Donald Trump? In any world that makes sense, does that sound like Donald Trump? Okay, I just have to quit for my own sanity. I have to quit this video. Okay, don't forget to like, share and subscribe if you liked this video.